Awesome. Hello, hello. Welcome to hopefully the best Tuesday of your life so far this year. I'll let you all start to trickle in, and quick apologies for my voice. I am getting over a cold, but I'm so pleased to welcome you to our next LinkedIn Live AMA of the season. My name is Chrissy Delore. I am the Senior Associate Director of Marketing, Recruiting, and Communications for the Executive Degree Programs team at MIT Sloan. I use she, her pronouns. Today's AMA, Ask Me Anything, is designed for prospective students interested in the MIT Executive MBA program. We'll be diving into what makes the MIT EMBA experience unique with a very special guest. We'll bring him on in just a little bit. But if you've been here before, you already know the drill. If you're brand new, I always love to start off these conversations with just a little bit more about what our program is. That way you have an idea of what to expect. So the MIT EMBA is a 20-month program delivered over 26 weekends. While most sessions, including our module weeks, are held in person, we're currently piloting a few virtual class weekends across the 5 terms to offer just a little bit more flexibility. But what you can expect is that our class weekends are full days on Fridays and Saturdays, spaced every 2 to 3 weeks. We actually have our next EMBA class weekend coming up this weekend. And so while, of course, our students enjoy coming to campus so they can be in community with their cohort, we've also adjusted our attendance policy so students are allowed to miss 2 days per semester. We'd like to give that information up front because we also know that you are all busy working individuals, right? Our 4 one-week-long modules are strategically placed throughout the program, including your first and final weeks, a really nice way to bookmark your time with us. And our graduates earn the same exact MBA degree as students in our traditional 2-year MBA program, as well as our full-time 1-year Sloan Fellows MBA program, which is also part of the executive degrees programs that we to deliver on. So our program at MIT Sloan is grounded in action learning. If you didn't know, now you will. MIT's motto is mens et manus. And it's our philosophy, right? It's Latin for mind and hand. And so the biggest thing is that you will apply classroom learning directly to your work once you're back in the office, or maybe you work remote, right? Our courses are taught by senior MIT Sloan faculty who are renowned researchers. They are industry experts and passionate educators. Our faculty members view EMBA students as peers, right? As you all will hopefully, get to know this, that you will enrich the classroom dynamic. And a few quick stats. Our students come from a wide range of locations, industries, and functions. So I'll give you some high-level stats about the class of our 2026, our second years. 65% of them come from outside Massachusetts, so they are traveling into Mass every time that they are here for in-person sessions. 76% of this class are director level or above. And of course, 100% are employed. And this is a requirement for admission. We'll get into that later in the conversation, I'm sure. And of course, there is so much more to the program. And so I'm pleased to introduce one of our amazing alum, Ken Milstead, to the conversation. Hey, Ken.
Hi, Chrissy.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really excited that you can be here. And so, I mentioned this in my LinkedIn post, but, you are one of the people that I met during my very, very first year of recruiting for the team. You came into interview, right, a few months later from that. Went through the program and you graduated in May, which is crazy. And so now you're an alum. And so I really love when I now get to have more people who I've seen throughout the entire cycle go through this. So I'm really excited to chat more with you. Before we get into questions, and before can I ask you to formally introduce yourself, just a reminder to everyone who is joining us live on LinkedIn. Hello again, and welcome. You can drop in comments into the chat. My team is managing us on the back end, and so we'll be able to answer. We'll try to answer as much as we can. So definitely, please feel free to participate and ask Ken whatever you like. We have them until 12:45. So Ken, introduce us. Tell us what class you're in, even though I already told people that, and give us your title and where you're working and just a little bit more about what your background is.
Sure thing. I'm Ken Milstead. I'm EMBA class 2025. I'm currently the AVP of Strategic Research Partnerships at Nemours Children's Health.
Awesome. And so tell us where you were where were you at in your career that made you begin thinking about pursuing an executive MBA? And also, too, like, just so folks at home know, like, you recently moved into this role when you started the program. You had a different role at a different company as well. So tell us a little bit, like, bring us back to, oh my gosh, what February did I meet you? Was it 2022?
I believe it was
23?
2022. Yeah, 2022. That's right. You're in Chicago. Right.
Yes.
So prior to this role, I was actually in another role at a children's hospital here in Chicago at the director level. I'd attended the MIT, I guess it was kind of a welcome event here.
Oh,
And
that's
I was kind of trying to, decide on whether or not I should apply to business school kind of at that juncture in my life. And after kind of hearing the presentation, I decided to apply to MIT, as well as about one or two other schools, and
mhm,
pursue my executive MBA. So I think from my perspective and in my field, which is healthcare, I think it would have been or is very advantageous for me to have an advanced degree. It was just kind of a matter of where I was going to receive it.
mhm.
Yeah.
And so what about the MIT Executive MBA stood out to you?
Um, I think what really stood out to me is obviously our initial meeting, but the the action learning. Right,
Mm,
every MBA program has its own flavor, and I think kind of what MIT does really well and what sets itself apart from other schools is that you're able to learn something in one weekend and then be able to take it back into the workforce on Monday.
mhm,
And that was very appealing to me at the time because I was responsible for quite a few projects. And so I found that the program itself and the action learning modules were extremely helpful for me in my job and my day-to-day duties.
yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, it's a big decision. It's an investment, not just financially, but like your time, right? And your energy. And, I always like to tell people, like, we understand that there are multiple factors going into this. And so, our early round deadline is coming up on Thursday. But one of the questions I always ask people is, like, who else in your life, like, needed to be bought into this process, right? Not just your employer, but like anyone at home too, like your families. And so, can you talk to me a little bit, and share for the folks at home who are watching, what was that? How was it navigating those conversations with your manager, with people on your team, maybe any direct reports, with anyone at home? How was it, explaining to them, like, one, what this was and why you're doing it, and then two, like, what would that mean for them over the 20 months, right? Because that is for sure something that me and my team are starting to get more of, is like, how do I really highlight the benefits of this program? And so, like, how did you explain, what you wanted to get out of this experience?
Yeah, I mean, the time commitment is enormous. But just like in your normal roles at work, you have stakeholders in your personal life, and one of my closest stakeholders is obviously my wife. And so when I actually pitched it to her, because I did have to pitch it to her,
Yeah.
it's a 20-month program, and I'll be gone pretty much every other weekends and some weeks, and she was extremely supportive. And I think, my second stakeholder was my, direct supervisor, who was also supportive. And so, I don't think you survive this program without having support systems in your personal life and in your work life, because it can be quite demanding. And so, just so as long as you're able to, allocate your time and your resources correctly and just be
Mhm.
very mindful about you know, deadlines and due dates at work, at home, and with your family, it's certainly survivable. But to answer your question, my wife and my direct supervisor were two of my, biggest supporters, which is why I
Mhm.
would say I had, such an incredible experience.
Yeah, I think that is, it's interesting because I feel like when that question comes up, in, like at panels, and it's happened like on the road where, our alum, people that have already graduated are like, the thing that I wish I did more was really like impress upon the people in my life, like how much this would take, like from my schedule. And so this is really why like we have that full calendar for you. So if you visit our website and like our program page, and you click on our view book, there is a link to our calendar for this, the class that we are currently accepting applications for, the class of 2028. You have your full class schedule, all of your class weekends, your projected commencement weekend, but also like orientation weekend, all your module weeks, anything like that. And because we know how important it is for you to feel as if you are not, on an island somewhere while you're also doing this. And so speaking of support, can you talk a little bit actually about the support you get from your cohort that obviously comes up in a lot of these conversations, but I think we'd be remiss to not chat a little bit about that now. And obviously, like you've been out of school for 6 months, but you all still chat. And so, what's it like having all these other people that you can lean on? You know, yeah. Tell us more about your cohort.
Yeah, our cohort is still fairly active with each other, which I'm proud to say. But there's a mantra in the EMBA program, and that's no EMBA left behind. And
Mhm.
I think, when sometimes times get tough, right? There are going to be, times where, you're not going to be able to complete assignment, or you're not going to be able to hold up your end of the bargain, or you might not even be able to attend a class that weekend. And that's when your cohort members and your classmates and your friends really, kind of kick in overdrive, right? And so,
Mhm.
you just always want to be mindful, what people do for you, you want to do for them as well. So it's
Yes.
always a give and take. And I think that's another thing that really kind of makes the program special, in that, people really care about you. And I think, when you hear MIT, you just think, super smart people, which is the truth, right?
Mhm.
But there's also this kind of caring aspect to it, right? And I think between the cohort, the faculty, and the program, they're all incredibly supportive of anything you need. I mean, I've sent emails to, you all, and some of the program leadership, at
Yeah.
2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, with different
Mhm.
things, and they were all very supportive. Same with my cohort, and I've received some of those notes as well. And so it's really a community effort, right? To get through the program. And I think having a cohort and classmates and friends and colleagues who are not only, smart, capable leaders, but also kind, capable leaders, to kind of help you through some of those tough times is important.
For sure. I actually I was out to dinner with someone in your cohort last month, and she was saying how she's still in touch with some professors because like her role has shifted at her new job, and so she will still regularly check in with professors who are helping you all out throughout the 20 months that you are a current student. I think that's one of the really really great things. Just to your point, where our alum all the time really impress upon the fact that like our faculty really do see you all as peers, right? So often, because you are all again like out in the world, you're all established in your careers, in various like fields and industries and very different functions across the board. And so oftentimes, things that are being talked about in maybe an MBA class like get are brought up, and the people that are in the room like with you in the cohort maybe we're around for whatever case study it is that they're maybe teaching about like in a different class. And so I think that's really really cool where faculty are getting that like it's that like reciprocal feedback loop as well, where and that never really goes away. And so I really do appreciate how in touch everyone still is even after you graduate. um I Oh, go ahead.
No, and I was going to just kind of, piggyback off of that. I think one of the things that really jumped out to me is, how much both the cohort and the faculty leaned on each other, right?
Mhm.
You have to keep in mind these are all, full-time executives, and they're all,
Right.
closest to the problems within their particular domains and industries, right?
Right.
And so, it was not uncommon for a professor to say, "Hey, can you tell me about that paper? Or can you tell me about what's going on in your industry?" And then you also have to kind of keep in mind that while they're teaching us, to a certain, we're teaching them. And
Yes.
so it's really a, a cohesive learning environment where the professors are learning from us and we're learning from them, and everyone in the room, quite frankly, is maximizing their learning. And it's not uncommon for our classmates to still keep in touch with professors, colleagues,
Mhm.
within the Martin Trust Center,
Yep.
and throughout the entire campus at MIT. And one of the best things about the program is that once you have access to the network, you're forever connected to the network. And
Yeah.
so, people are going to reach out to you and you're going to reach out to people, and it'll quite frankly be like that for the rest of your life, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's that is the one thing too. Like when people come in to interview, I always like to ask candidates, or maybe just share with candidates, like be really intentional with what you want to do while you're a current student for the 20 months, because you do have access to the entire campus. However, like a reminder that like your journey doesn't stop like when you graduate. Like
Yeah.
when you're an alum, like you still have so many opportunities to come back and like take advantage of what's here or what's elsewhere, right? We have very strong alum communities across the country, across the globe. And so, like it's not as if your time as an MIT student is just that's it. If anything, like actually, I love when I get to connect with alums on these events or they're dropping by campus or whatever because I get to be like, hey, like what's new, and like we all on the program team get to see how you continue to grow. And that's the other piece too, like going back to faculty learning from you all, like the coursework, while, like, of course, we are continuously looking at curriculum, and how things are being taught, right? But the conversations will never be exactly the same because the conversations obviously depend on who's participating in the room. And because, again, you all are like actively working in the fields and likely either whether it was you or somebody that you likely have had like or know something about something that's being talked about. And so like you all too are also changing the way in which curriculum is being designed and how you're learning. We did actually get a really, really great question from the chat. And so another plug for sending in your questions to us. So thank you, Jacob. How did you consider the ROI relative to cost and time spent, including away from personal life? Additionally, would love to hear about how the MBA has altered your trajectory professionally and personally so far. Two great questions.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to take the ROI question first. Um, I think the ROI was well worth it, quite honestly. I think, you know, obviously there's that learning component, right? You're learning from, one of the best institutions in the world. Um, and then you're also making those connections with people at that institution. From an ROI perspective, yes, it is a lot of travel. I'm
Mhm.
actually based in Chicago, and I was traveling to Cambridge every other
Mhm.
week. So that includes travel, transportation, food, hotel,
Mhm.
and obviously tuition. So there is a cost to it, but I certainly think that the cost benefit analysis, and I think that every candidate should obviously run a cost benefit analysis on the program and what it would do for themselves. It was beneficial to me.
Mhm.
Kind of going back to that action learning, I think, in my organization, I was able to see um, uh, 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 quick results with certain projects that I was tasked with because I was
Mhm.
part of the
Mhm.
EMBA program, and so that was helpful for me. And the second question, I think just kind of around the family component. You know, I believe the cohort was around 125 people. So there are 125 people in your same situation who are
Mhm.
full-time executives, by the way, not just employees, executives, and full-time, husbands and wives, and full-time parents and caretakers in some
Yep.
instances. So, and my own personal mantra is, if someone else can do it, then I can do it. So that's how I looked at that, and I didn't really see it as a burden. I saw it as an opportunity. Every weekend I was in Cambridge, I would come back and tell my friends and family. It's almost like I saw the future, guys. Um, this was, kind of prior, or, near the kind of AI boom. I saw robots.
Mhm.
I saw, new discoveries in labs. We were having thoughtful conversations about what the future of healthcare looked like, what the future of finance would look like, what the future of
Mhm.
marketing would look like. And this was every weekend. And, I
Yep.
would come home and I would just have to, kind of honest, quite frankly, take a breath kind of from all of the incredible knowledge that I had intake in within 48 hours. So it was, it was incredible. Um, but yes, there is a large investment that will go into this program, and I don't want anyone to go into it thinking that it's not. But from my perspective, it was well worth it. From a career perspective, and I think that was your third question, is that I think I mentioned earlier that I was in another role here in Chicago in the Children's Hospital,
Mhm.
and I was actually a I would say, I'm not career changer, but a role changer, uh,
Mhm.
which was interesting because I didn't think that would happen. But I was able to, I was fortunate to get the role that I'm in now while in the program. Uh,
Mhm.
what's ironic is I had quite a few cohort members that had either gotten promoted or switched roles or switched careers. So it's
Mhm.
not common, but it's not uncommon for an IMBA to do that.
Yep.
And so I would say, if you switch roles, or if you are promoted, or if you move to another organization, I would say, just be sure to lobby for that same support that you had at your past organization, with your
Yeah.
new organization, just to make sure that they're aware of the commitment that you made to the program and to yourself.
Oh, that's such good insight, and one I'm sure has been brought up, but like I don't know that I it's been like so clear to me about that, because obviously, and I think too, like from our side, it's like on the program team, it's like you're already doing a lot. Like, do you really want to take a new? But it happens, right? And to your point, you're starting to learn a lot. Your network is increasing. Um, the ROI that you're bringing back to your company, right? And like not just to your manager, but also to anyone that's maybe reporting into you. Like this is not just an opportunity for you to learn, but you are also bringing back all this knowledge to your teams and helping them like figure out like and seeing new things and helping them see a little bit of that future, right? Like somebody else actually recently talked about that, where they had to like level set after class weekend because they're like, nobody else, like you're in like a bubble, right? And you're kind of like talking about like a lot, and then you get back to like where you were, and it's like, wait a second, okay, like let me take a breath, let me like recalibrate, because you know not everyone is there yet, but the fact that yes, it's possible, and you're being given these opportunities to up level because you're now outgrowing where you were on such a level. And I'll say to you, like, we can like we understand, like the financial ROI of this. And something that stuck with me is this is an alum. I forget which class she was in, but in the 2010s class. So, before COVID. And one of the things that she even still today will say is that I wish I didn't worry so much. I wish I didn't worry so much about the tuition because I was able to recoup that no problem. Where she stayed at her organization has actually been able to create roles because of how she herself has grown in her own career, like create new roles for her because she's been able to essentially create her own path, right? And so she's been able to really design her own life and like redefine like what success is looking like for her. And she wouldn't have had that, prior to this. And so it's just something to, I think, for you all to keep in mind at home, because I'm sure Ken, like it, you think about that February 2022, like you didn't know where you're going to be like 2.5, 3 years down the line. And like, look at you now, right? Like I get to be like, oh, like I knew Ken when, like before you were a student here, before we were like, hey, like take some photos for like our new view book, right? And so that's really cool to see. We're getting some really, really great questions. So I'm going to go back to these. Great question from Yvonne. So from going back to that buy-in about gathering, support. Was there anyone who wasn't on board that you had to justify the commitment to? Or maybe your pitch for your wife and supervisor, what elements were included that helped convince them of this, if you needed to, that maybe you can share, like any tips and tricks for anyone who's out there
Yeah.
and is maybe like struggling a little bit or not sure where to start?
Yeah, I wouldn't say anyone wasn't necessarily on board. I think everyone, for the most part, was on board and a part of what I was trying to do. I would say,
Mhm.
from my perspective, it doesn't make it any less nerve wracking for you to pitch this to these
Totally.
groups of people. So, I would just say, from an overall perspective, just make sure that, you're conveying to them, the benefits of the program and what it'll bring not only to your household, to your family, the legacy to your family, the legacy to my daughter. That's important to me, but also to the
Mhm.
organization, right? I've noticed that, since I've graduated, I've gotten many more questions about, how to do certain things that, quite frankly, I don't think I would have gotten prior to me graduating the program. And so I've seen a 10x production in some of the the things that I'm responsible for, and I would say that about 75% of that is because I was able to go through the executive MBA program. And so I think if you're able to convey the benefits of the program and what it'll bring, um, not just to work, not just to personal life, but to all aspects of your life. I think, kind of going back to the cohort question, I now kind of feel like I have friends, not just all over the United States, but all over the world, right?
Mhm.
The MIT
Yeah.
Executive MBA program is not just a domestic program. And, that's nothing, against any other, top MBA programs here in the country. But, in my personal opinion, the Executive MBA program is the best MBA program. And one of the reasons it's the best MBA program is because the connectivity around the world. I have classmates, who are flying in from Paris and Chad and London every other week. Uh,
Mhm.
and now, my family is their family and their family is my family. And I'm proud to not only call them my colleagues and my cohort, but now they're my friends. And
Yeah.
so, I think that is a strong selling point, or could be a strong selling point, to your pitch, to not only your wife and to your supervisor.
Mhm. That's such a great point. And I think too, when we think about our stakeholders, our team is so intentional about ensuring that they too are bought in. And so like last month in November, we always have significant others weekend. And so it's adults only, but we have a really great reception. It's usually at the Liberty Hotel just across the river, right in Boston. In April, we have Bosses Day, like Bosses
Yeah,
Weekend, where you can
yeah.
invite your manager to come back. I actually think
My
Joe's
boss
maybe doing.
came.
Yeah, you're right,
Oh,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, he came. Yeah.
And like, they too then get to see like, okay, like here's like where like my partner, where my employee like is learning and is like getting in all this information that like I get to benefit from. And then this is my favorite weekend. Family weekend is in July. Um, I love what you said about, your cohort being your family because it's true. Like one of the things I say this maybe at every event, but this was my very first family weekend. It was the summer of 2023. And one of our students came up to like our swag table, right? That we had like, right on campus. We have like a bunch of food in the front. We turned back of campus into a little carnival for the kids. It's with games and prizes and a lot of sweet treats, maybe too much sugar, but it's a lot of fun. And one of the students was like, I don't know what you do here, how you do this, but my mom now has like more friends than I have in the program because while you all are in class, we have programming for like tours either around campus or around like the Cambridge, Boston area. Again, like other receptions or other ways to like ice cream socials, duck boat tours, which are really, really cool. Again, just like different ways for us to, show them, hey, like show all of your people, like, hey, like we appreciate you loaning us like your very kind, very smart, very talented people, as we continue to, build our cohorts year over year. And it's really great to see you all just become closer with each other. And I don't know if anyone in your cohort are like going on trips, but like I know the groups of people that like go on vacation together and like and
Yeah.
all that. And it's just really nice.
And I'll
That
also say that I didn't mean to interrupt, but also just to that point, this is a life altering program.
yeah.
Because one day, you have your set friends and your set network, and then just
Mhm.
like that, you got 125 new friends that you're concerned about.
Yeah.
And I think, I wasn't quite ready for that. I didn't know that that was going to happen.
Right,
Um,
because that's not what you're thinking about
yes,
when you're applying. You're not thinking
exactly
about
not
that.
thinking about it, and then now, I'm concerned about, 125 new people and what's going on in their life, and so I would say that's something that you should try to prepare for.
Yeah, that's so funny. And the other thing too that you said, like the legacy, right? And you mentioned your daughter, and one of the things that usually comes up is like, this is a great opportunity for like you to also do homework with your kids, and they can see like that learning is cool, and like you can
Yeah,
still learn, and like there's
absolutely.
a reason why, because I tell people this all the time. You don't have to do this. This is a self-selecting group of people. Like to add on, going back to school, adding on like tests and homework and paper, in addition to like your job, which is full time,
Right.
and also any other like existing family, social obligations, relationships that you have. And so it takes a really special kind of person to do this. But I think the thing that I hear from parents, like I'm not a parent, but like the thing I hear so much from parents is that like you get to build like just a different type of relationship with your kid. And actually, this happened this past orientation. So for the class of 2027 that uh, recently started, and I was sitting at a table at the reception, and it's like a bunch of women just chatting, and and I like popped myself down, and we were talking about like the admissions process and the call, and like the how all the things it took for them to get here. And one of them was saying how like her daughter like looked at her and was like, "Mom, you're going to MIT. That's such a flex." And we all just started laughing, and like it
Yeah,
really is like that's so cool to be able to,
yeah,
like show your kids like, like yes, you can, right? Like and
right.
if other people can do it, like you can do it too.
Yeah.
And so like speaking of the application process, like weird way to transition, but we got another great question from um Jerisem. Hopefully I'm pronouncing her name right. I'm sorry if I didn't. Ken, can you share about your experience in the admissions and interview process? Any tips or suggestions for creating a successful application? And yeah, like that's it's coming up. We're starting to reading of the applications is starting soon. It's crazy. I just for all you folks at home, I also sit on our admissions committee as well as an interviewer, which is very time intensive, but another great part of my job. And so, Ken, from the interviewee side, what tips and what insight do you have to share?
Yeah, I would say from a personal perspective, it all started with the meeting that we had in Chicago
Mhm.
for the presentation. And that really kind of started my journey.
Yeah,
And I would also say, from an applicant perspective, I would try to say get as much face time with the program as possible. So I obviously went to the presentation here in Chicago, but then I also did, I don't know if they're still doing it, but the resume review. Um,
mm,
where someone from the program would kind of go through my resume and they would kind of talk to
Mhm.
you. And I would say throughout the application process, my confidence actually started to build to say that, hey, I actually might be able to
Mm.
apply to this program.
Yeah.
Um, the second thing I would say is, and they say this around anytime you apply to a program, but be yourself. And I
Yes.
don't want to sound too common, but I think that's very important.
Mhm.
I believe you all do a great job of putting together cohorts um, that fit one another. So, kind of a puzzle piece, a very diverse cohort. I've noticed that from 23, 24, 25, and 26.
Yeah.
So, you guys are very intentional about that. So, from an applicant perspective, I would say, be yourself as much as possible.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of this third nugget, that I'll give everyone. Don't tell anybody, but I would say, uh, applying to the executive program, you want to not only say what you would get from the MIT Executive MBA program, but you
Mhm.
also want to be able to confidently and coherently convey what you'll also bring to the program.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
because what happens is, and I think this happens to a lot of applicants, is they say, "Hey, once I get my MBA, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. This is going to be, it's coming from MIT, so people are going to think I'm smart, X, Y, Z, da, 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 da." But a lot of times, applicants don't keep in mind that, in this program, you'll learn as much from your cohort um, as they'll learn from you,
Yep.
and your faculty members.
Yep.
Uh, and so I would say if there's something that you can bring to the program that's strong and could be useful and
Mm.
utilized from your other cohort members, then make sure you, I would say, convey that in your application because in the executive MBA program, again, it's not just about learning from faculty members who are or professors who are instructing the class, but also learning from each other. And so you want to be able to just convey that to everyone. So
Yeah.
yeah, what can you bring to the program?
It's so that's literally like one of my questions, right? Like in like when you're hopefully like some of you in the call, like maybe you'll end up with me as an interviewer. So don't be surprised when you get this. But yeah, like, we know that we're MIT. We know that we're MIT Sloan. We know that you want to come here, right? But like in addition to like everything that we know we can offer you, because those are obviously like the things that we are marketing. We also want to know like who are you? And I think, very often people get really hung up on the application and the interview because they're like, who does the MIT EMBA like? Who do they want to see? And it's like, I don't want to see anyone but you. Like, I want to know who you are because I think the worst thing is if someone comes into an interview and they're not and then you show up to like the first day of orientation and it's like completely different person. I don't need you to be like anybody else. I don't need you to be like this person, that person. I think, everyone, the fact that we haven't talked about imposter syndrome is crazy. But that also always happens. I think, like you get the bio book, right? Like on your first day and you have, because we ask you, right? Like to it was like a little bio about like who you are. And, sometimes there are people where it's like they're looking at everybody else and it's like, why am I here? Like, how did I get here? And like, trust me, we've gone through everyone's application and you know what I mean? Like we are really truly so intentional about the people that we want to invite to be a member of the cohort, right? Because we see something in you. And we want you to be here and we hope that you see that same thing in yourself. And I think if anything, what can happen is, people don't like believe in themselves enough to just like put their name like don't let yourself right be the no for the program. So if you're on the call and you're like wondering like is this something that I really want and like only you can really answer that question but like I hope that you all can explain like as you said Ken like what you also have to offer because I'm sure you have a lot more to offer than you maybe think.
Yeah,
um,
the imposter syndrome is real. And I think once you get, past that and, just apply, right? And see what happens and try to be a part of, different experiences at MIT and get in front of the committee in the program as much as possible, you might surprise yourself. So I'm in total agreement with you on that one.
Yeah, thank you. I know we're wrapping up on time, so I do want to ask just one final question. So our essays, that sometimes the wording will change year over year, but they do, in the application, they do offer you the opportunity to show how you align yourself with MIT Sloan's mission, which is in part to develop principled, innovative leaders who improve the world. Additionally, our program mission is empowering and connecting leaders to redefine our shared future. Was actually crafted, when you were a current student as we were going through our rebrand, right? And so, what do these two missions, like, how do they resonate with you in your work? And I guess, like, how can you maybe, like, what do you want, maybe like a future cohort member to think about, like, when they're working through their application, if they're thinking about the missions, like, I guess, yeah, like, what are your thoughts and um,
No,
in those words?
I think, the new mission makes so much sense. Just the amount of development amongst each other, the shared experiences, the connection with, and not just your cohort, but with other cohorts.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, that's important. And I think, the executive MBA program is building, an army of principal leaders, and have been, going on a decade now. And I think, you know, I don't understand why anybody wouldn't want to be a part of that. I think, from that perspective, that was a driving decision tree for me in making that decision of coming to MIT. And I would also say, you know, while you're there, it is flushed with opportunities. And I don't know if that gets mentioned enough.
Mhm.
It certainly can be mentioned, in a 45-minute AMA, but the amount of opportunities there is almost, it's an embarrassment of riches, right? To connect with, other industry leaders, to connect with professors, to connect with board members. Quite a few of my cohort and past cohort members have started companies together.
Mhm.
They have advisors, and those advisors on their board are professors. And you've seen, career switchers switch to companies from other cohort members, and
Mhm.
you have that interconnectivity not just with the executive MBA program, but also with the standard MBA program, which is the
Mhm.
2-year MBA program, as well as with the Sloan Fellows program, which I believe is the 1-year
Mhm.
program, and
Yeah.
as well as the finance students. So it's not just, you're not just, confined to, a 48-hour weekend, every other week. You are, thoughtfully integrated into the entire MIT community. And I don't think I have the words to um, flush out just how important that is. And again, just how many opportunities are at your disposal.
Mhm.
And you really come to that realization when you graduate.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but
while I was there, I tried to take advantage of as many as I could. And this goes
Mhm.
back to Chrissy's point to being intentional, once you land on campus, because you could go full kid in the candy store when you're there. You see electives, you're seeing, courses, you're seeing professors that you want to meet and have coffee with. You're seeing classmates that you want to meet and have coffee and dinner with. And you're kind of like, and it's all there. Everything
Mhm.
that you've, ever wanted intellectually, from an academic standpoint, it's all on MIT's campus. And as a full-time student, you have access to it. And
Yeah.
so I would, just, leave everyone with that fact, kind of once the doors are open to you, they're not closed, and that's an incredible thing to be a part of.
I love the way you phrased that. Ken, thank you so much for joining us today. Happy holidays and safe travels down to Florida. So I know you're playing out.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Thank you.
Christy.
Of
Bye.
course. Good to see you. So we've explored what it means to be, a strong candidate. We've talked about the program. We had some really, really great questions today. So really excited to see, some new names in the chat. Hope to see you at some future events soon. And we hope this conversation helped you reflect on your own leadership journey, right? And what redefining potential may mean for you. So what is your life's next inflection point? We hope to see you in our new cohort. Our application deadlines are available as our application is open. All deadlines are at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So you'll see that little bar right there. In addition, while Thursday is also like our early round deadline, we are having our Program Insights event on campus. It's also it's a hybrid event, so you can join us remotely if you are not local. So feel free to pop in and check out our events page for that. Yes, visit our events admissions event page for upcoming in-person virtual events. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, the next time you see me, I will have a normal speaking voice. Wishing you all a wonderful holiday season and hope to see you soon. Take care. Bye, guys.